What's up, guys? It's Mr. Jambad, and today we are back for another episode of your favorite podcast, On the Contrary, where we discuss all things Pokemon related, metagame related, everything related. And I got a guest with me, just one guest.
That's it? You're not gonna introduce me anymore?
Nah, you can introduce yourself.
Yo, what's up, guys? Yeah, Pokeaim here. We're back. Sometimes we come back here. Sometimes we are. We're on. I think I've been on this podcast a good amount of times.
Yeah, every episode about.
Yeah.
About right. Yeah. So today's podcast is gonna talk a little bit about just kind of. Hopefully, it doesn't get into a rant, but just some things we've been observing. Me and Joey have seen it on both our channels, and then we'll discuss a little bit post Dynamax. So obviously, the first podcast we discussed Dynamax being tested, so it wasn't banned as yet, and now that it's banned, we're going to discuss our experiences, how we feel about how the metagame has come together and what we see coming in the future. So we're going to start off with the thing, and that's stall. What is stall? Right. You can go first, Joe, since you had made a tweet about it.
Well, I mean, I guess we gotta explain what stall is. To be honest, it's okay. So it's a defensively based team, and the idea of the team is designed to, not die. Right? It's designed to outstall your opponent. Whereas offense would be designed to break through your opponent's walls and Pokemon through either pressure or attacking. Stall is typically a more defensively based play style, where it usually depends on either one of the few, whether it be status, hazards, or simply switching into a Pokemon or tanking an attack to the point where your opponent can't do anything anymore. Right? Is that a decent explanation of stall?
Yeah. The only thing I'd add to remove, when I explain things, I don't want any jargon in it. Not like that's not bad. If you're a vet of the Pokemon community, you understand exactly what Joey just said. But for somebody who may not be as familiar with things, essentially there are two ways to generally go about winning a game, right? You either do that by overpowering the person or by outlasting them. So I gave this example of a fight. You can win the fight by going in full force, no guards up, and flailing your arms, or just going hard, and you may win the fight because you just overpowered your opponent. That doesn't mean you didn't take damage. It just meant your opponent took more damage than you did. Whereas with stall in a fight, the stall mindset would be the guy just taking the hits until the other guy is tired, and then he just hits him with one punch. It might not be the strongest punch, but because the other guy is so weakened and tired, then it's very effective. So it withers him down through protection. So that's stall versus offense. But yeah, go ahead. That's just something I wanted to put in.
Yeah, so, I mean, the reason of this podcast is because, for a while now, I think for years, I've seen comments like, if I use a defensive Pokemon, like Toxapex, for instance, why are you stalling your opponent? And it could be like Toxapex on straight up offense, we take last generation, I could be using Ash Greninja, Shift Gear Magearna, and then a Toxapex just so I don't have to worry about T-Spike or anything like that. But I feel like that's the wrong misconception. And even then, it goes a little bit further. You'll have people complaining and saying they hate stall when they see things like that. Whereas really, I feel like it's a little bit more than just that itself, right? Like, what if it's not like, stall is terrible, I can't beat stall, I can't beat Toxapex. But what if you did have the tools and you threw them away? Or, and this is probably another really accurate thing, your team was just ill-equipped to deal with a Pokemon that, that prevalent in the metagame, right? Like, Toxapex is a great Pokemon. It's a big Pokemon. No one can deny that. It's incredible. It's one of the best defensive Pokemon we've ever had. But if your team can't deal with it and you just blame it solely on stall and Toxapex, that's not really a Toxapex issue. That's a team building issue at that.
No, that's Joey's a lot nicer than I, so I'll definitely be the bad cop in this. That's your issue, right? So if something, here's my thing, man. Not to say the metagames are always perfect. It's not what the claim is, right? Some things have been unhealthy, and we as a community can come together and determine that, right? But before you ever spew anything out of your mouth about something else being the issue, look in the mirror and see if you had done everything you could do to prevent that situation that you don't like from happening. So in the case of Toxapex, if you're losing to Toxapex, rather than say Toxapex is the problem because you keep losing to it, figure out what you are doing incorrectly versus Toxapex. Try to find out how people beat Toxapex. Like, find resources to solve the problem that's in front of you rather than succumbing to the problem and bitching about it, which is what a lot of what I'm seeing. Oh man, it's nothing but stall. I have not seen one full stall team. Full stall isn't even good. Like, this is just not the gen for it. They don't have the tools. They don't have their Chanseys, the Sableyes, the Molas. You may see a bulky team, but if every time you see a bulky team you think, oh god, stall is taking over the ladder because Dynamax is banned, that just shows to anybody who knows how to play this game that you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You just don't know what to do. And that's fine. That's fixable. I'm just saying fix it rather than bitch about it and then like you still come back to the server anyway. So you're still coming back just to bitch. What kind of life is that? So that's just something I find annoying and it's been irking me. And I'm like, do you guys really understand fully what stall is? I doubt it.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues I had, I said this on Twitter, but the other day I was actually just watching some games randomly because I do that sometimes, just kind of see what's going on in the metagame, whether it be tournament games or real games. Mm-hmm. And there was this dude complaining about Toxapex at the end of the battle, but if you watch the game itself, he had CM Reuniclus and Dugtrio, right? He had CM Reuniclus and Dugtrio, and in order to beat the Tyranitar, he decided to let Calm Mind Reuniclus take 98% from a choice band crunch, right? As opposed to sacking his 2% mon that he had to then trap it with Dugtrio. So not only that, both Dugtrio and Reuniclus are decent answers to Toxapex. Yes. Like Reuniclus being probably one of the best answers ever because it doesn't care about status. It doesn't care about haze because it's typically faster and psychic and 2-hit KO, especially because they're physically defensive for Galarian Darmanitan right now. Right. And it's and then Dugtrio is a mon that if it doesn't get burnt can 2-hit KO with Earthquake. Since it doesn't die to Scald. But this guy had the tools to beat Toxapex and threw it away. And that's just not using, that was a mismanagement of tools, right? He didn't use what he had to beat the Pokemon at hand, and at the end it was just him complaining about Toxapex. And I'm just sitting here like, first off, I think the dude clearly took the team. He didn't make it himself. Right. Because when you make the team, and there's nothing wrong, I take 1 million teams a year, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I literally do. But I mean, the thing with that is that I'm a little bit quicker at figuring out what this does for why this is on it, just because I play a lot. But like, he clearly didn't understand why that Pokemon was on his team. Like, I feel like with a team like that, if you lose to a Toxapex, I think it's either you lost it or your opponent severely outplayed you. And in a metagame without pursuit as well. I mean, and I know I'm going like on a different side with it, but in a metagame without pursuit, Reuniclus should be even better versus Toxapex, right? Because it can't be pursuit trap. So, like in that situation, it was like if the dude looked back in the game, and was like, okay, what did I do wrong? Maybe I shouldn't have thrown off my Reuniclus.
Right. I completely agree with that point. Like, if people, and it's interesting. People, so I get two types of people, right? Like if you notice, if you've watched my videos, if you notice at the end of the games, I'll say, I could have. And some people take that as, Jam, you never give your opponent credit, right? I don't pay attention to my opponent because that's not going to help me get better. If there was nothing I could have done, and there are plenty of times where this happens, if there's nothing I could have done differently and the opponent just outplayed, then he just outplayed, he just won. Like, I don't care about saying that. I think for that person it's a bigger deal to them than it is to me, whether I lose or not. And they just want to hear me say, oh no, I just got fucked up. I say this all the time. You know what I'm saying? So it's the reason I do that is because it keeps me in a mindset of constant improvement. Okay, what could I have done? I put the responsibility back on myself rather than putting it and saying that, oh, my opponent just outplayed me and there was nothing I could have done. I don't know that unless I've looked back over the game, right? You don't know if your opponent had outplayed you. Maybe he could have done. Maybe you could have done something differently, but you didn't realize it. And as you looked over for your own errors, you're like, oh shit. Like yesterday's live was like that. There was a gas showdown moment. Opponent got the special defense drop. I could have said, "Ah, damn, hacks," right? But in all honesty, I stayed in for multiple turns and risked that when I could have gotten rid of that Pokemon without risking it. My greed lost me that game, right? And then somebody said, "Well, you're not giving him credit because it did lose me the game." So, what can I say? So in the same way, like when you guys are complaining about toxic specs, be solution oriented rather than complaining and then doing nothing because then you just remained in the 1400s. Aren't you tired of that? Get better. We're here to help you. Like literally, our channels are based around that. But we can't help you if you don't even want to help yourself. And if you're cool with being there, fine. I know I'm ranting at this point. If you're cool with being there, fine.
It's interesting. Funnily enough, I do feel like there is, at least with our, maybe even I can't say the majority of my sub base because I don't know the majority of my sub base, right? I get different commentary. I get the people who are around, but I get different commentary video. You take the battle Gem and I had the other day, where it came down to like either infinite switching or if we had to attack each other, pressure stalling each other. But the game was still, I think, incredibly entertaining, good, and it just became that because, well, first off, I threw away Grimmsnarl, so that was a misplay on my part. I didn't realize Tyranitar could kill me.
I missed Toxic early, which made that game a lot harder.
Yeah. Exactly. There was definitely things like had I stuck to the game plan of stalling out Sludge Waves from what's it called? I could have just bulked up a Grimmsnarl and did its thing. But yeah, that was I think that's just an example because that's kind of where this stems from. Not where it stems from because I've seen comments like this forever, but that was a game of just outmaneuvering your opponent in a sense, right? Like, okay, I would win this game if I do this, this, and this, but maybe you'll win this game. And there's points in the game it's like, oh, I don't even know if I win at this point, but I'm still playing through. But I feel like to chop that up to stall, like if you actually listen to our thought process while playing, it's not okay, I'm gonna stall him right here. Every play had a purpose, right? Like I would go Corviknight on Sludge Wave to pressure Sludge Wave. I would go my Rest Grimmsnarl on Toxic, which was risky, but to throw off one Toxic, So I do think as well it's not like, at least in that sense too, I don't know, it's I just think people's perception of stall is a little bit warped.
Right. It's not a little bit warped. And I mean, this isn't everybody. The more experienced players, it's like preaching to the choir. But I definitely think the more casual and newer players, I want to make sure that they have a proper understanding of things and not get easily swayed by just propaganda. Again, people are referring to that game as stall. Neither of us were using stall. I may have had my most defensive Pokemon may have been the Corviknight. I had a damn Salazzle, a Scarf Dragapult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because in that game, and a lot of people said, oh man, why was Jam playing that game? Bro, like if I hit the Toxic, it wouldn't be, or Dragapult, any Dragapult set. There were several moments in that game where I thought I had the game. Like for example, if Dragapult 2-KO Corviknight, the game was over. But I thought there was just no way Shadow Ball wouldn't kill something there. So I'm like, all right, bet. But it lived, so that's something I learned. And then I had to readapt my strategy, which made the game longer, right? So had I known, let's say Corviknight would live, then I'd Fire Blast the Pex, Corviknight dies, and then the game's over. But that's not how it played out. And then that gave Joey an open, and he started making plays with his Ditto, getting his Ditto back. Starting to risk Corviknight, and it works out because he's pressure styling. So all these good plays he's making to come back in the game, make the game long, but that because the game isn't 3 turns long means it's stalled. Like, it just means it's a good game. It is a strategic game. I don't know if people assume games are supposed to be 20 turns or 15 turns.
Yeah.
But back in the day, like, Pokemon was like a actual battle. It wasn't you setting up. And I think the misconception from Z moves and Dynamax kind of faded certain people's perception of what an actual game is supposed to look like. You're supposed to fight your way through. If you don't like thinking during your game, I don't want to think about it, then that's fine. Just be okay with like sucking. Like, that's it. It's very binary. You either do the stuff, we give you all the information, like I try to be very detailed for people who are trying to learn, who actually want to learn, right? Joey's been doing this for years. He has a ton of guides, ton of content that he puts out, team builders, yada yada yada. The resources are there. If you don't want to use it and complain, sure. But if I see the complaining personally, I'm just gonna delete you and you can't comment on my vids anymore. No bitching. Solutions, not complaining, is what I'm about.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel, oops, there's like a truck passing by, but
it's all good. It's all good.
I feel the same way. Like, I'm similar to Jam. Like, I say, okay, well, maybe I did this wrong, or even, don't get me wrong, when Jam was saying what he did, hacks does definitely matter. If I had one Pokemon to deal with your Pokemon and you lucked it, obviously there's nothing in that situation. If you're looking broader, yeah, like,
hacks happens. It's not always your fault. It's just helpful to use that mentality because you can control that.
Yeah.
That's all.
But
go ahead though.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, it's just, I just feel like for at least new players, I realize why they get discouraged, right? They're new, they just joined the game, and they're in a situation where this Corsola just strength-sapped and Will-O-Wisp their entire team, and they shake their entire team to death, right?
Right.
And like, that's
disheartening.
And
yeah.
I understand the frustration behind it, but like, I mean, you gotta just look back and think, okay, why did this happen? Why was I not able to beat this Pokemon?
Right.
But
and to be honest, you just might not be cut out for this. Like, that might be a very real. I want to get back to just reality. Like, you might not be, if you can't handle a couple L's on the ladder, and if that's too much for your ego, self-esteem, it's just too much, then you either need to take it more gradually. So if it's too much, I understand that. Just, okay, I took a L, let me step back for a little bit and I'll try again in whatever increment works for you. But if it's just, I can't take an L without blaming somebody else, then maybe this isn't for you, or you're gonna just remain the same. That you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't complain about everything and then complain about how you're not good, and then complain and it's Darm's fault. It's because of Darmanitan. Maybe because you have a mono grass team that's weak to ice. Maybe it's not Darmanitan's fault. Maybe you should use a Darm check. There are no checks. There are plenty. I
mean, in the same reality, maybe you got flinched 5 times in a row in the last few moves, and maybe it is Darm's fault.
Life. That's not Darm's fault. You got life. That's nobody's fault. Like, bitching about it doesn't solve anything. Darmanitan is not broken by any means. It has so many downsides, right? But if you go into the game, it's da 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 da. Of course you're gonna do, like, you're put your mind in a place where you've already lost. So as you approach that Pokemon, you're not thinking solution oriented. You're just thinking about how things are unfair and how I wish this. And how, if you don't have a Darm check on your team, and I'm ranting about Darm, that's fine. You chose to not put a Darm check on your team, right? Pokemon, I usually hear the thing of, it forces me to run this. That is literally what a metagame is. Everything forces you to run something. Yeah. That is literally what Pokemon, you build a team because I don't want to be forced to have to run. That's literally what a metagame. No metagame has not had a big threat where you had to run something to help deal with it. That's why they're good threats. So what is the appropriate metagame? One where everything is on a level playing field? That's just not how Pokemon. Like, the company didn't even build a Pokemon like that. And who are we to tier it to where it's like only base things with base stat total of 100 can. Come on now. Solutions, people. Solutions.
Yeah.
There are plenty of solutions. If you need some help, join the academy. You know what I'm saying? We'll get you right. Subscribe to Joey. He'll get you right. Like, it's there are ways around things, people. But yeah,
you just gotta look at it. I don't know. I think that's a good way to end it. There are ways around things is a good mindset to have. Like, I do think certain things were, at least this generation, we're a little bit over the edge. Dynamax being one of them. Yeah. But in terms of, like, going back to stall and Toxapex, it just, stall is definitely not as good as how it's been before. No. That's it. Like, it's not. Like, I'm not going to be punished for running a Calm Mind Psychic type, right? Because nobody can pursue me. I can switch and play that game all I want, right? We even have new breakers, too. I feel like if Darmanitan... Yeah, exactly, the fish. If Darmanitan ends up getting banned, Nasty Fly Gengar is pretty nasty, too, right? There's only so many things in this metagame that outspeed it. Cinderace, Dragapult, Scarf Darmanitan. Like,
there's going to be another thing. There's going to be another thing. Like, it, just like how you mentioned, you brought up Gengar, or there's going to be another thing. Yeah. To be the new Darm, you know what I mean? I just say with Dynamax, there's still people who are like, we should have done it differently, and that's fine. That's fine. I don't think they banned Dynamax because they just wanted to ban Dynamax and they couldn't handle it in any situation whatsoever. Yeah. It's more macro than that. It's not your one individual game. It's just as a whole what it's bringing to the table. And what it's taking away, and it was just taking away a lot more than it was bringing. So as a metagame, as a macro, as a futuristic, as 10 months from now view on the metagame, they were like, long term, it's just not it. It's just not it. Whereas now, I'd say let the meta set, like, there's nothing holding you back. I think I haven't run into a Pokemon that I can't handle, and I use random teams from all my subscribers who maybe just started team building, yesterday, and face the Darms, and they're troublesome. Of course, it's good. It's a good Pokemon. And
there's Gene Zera, who builds 1,000 teams a day.
Literally 1,000 teams a day, and he just whipped. There's no way he thinks about all that. He just puts stuff on there, and if
he definitely do not say he definitely thinks.
He definitely throws stuff on those teams. Like, you don't build the amount of teams he builds a day and not throw stuff on the teams. I'm not saying he never thinks about his plays or his thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't use his teams. That's my boy. He's he's actually one of my team building headmasters. But just like CTC did, CTC would just throw shit on the teams. Like, I do that shit too. On my Uber teams, I throw a lot of shit on there. So it's not taken away from his capabilities. It's just facts.
Man, Zacian.
Nah, that's my guy right there. But yeah, this was very ranty. I think the meta. You have any little comments about just what you feel the meta is like? Are you enjoying the meta post Dynamax?
I'm definitely enjoying it more. I feel like I wanted to make a video on the Dynamax ban, like why it happened, my thoughts on it, and then also how I feel about it 2 weeks later. But just. Long story short, I actually really like the meta. It's pretty rewarding to run balance now. It kind of has a Gen 4, Gen 5 type of feel, maybe closer to Gen 5, whereas games are determined based on skill. I think there's still a little luck aspects, of course, as Pokemon, but more so determined based on skill, and I don't feel like my Pokemon are going to blow up in 3 turns. Like, I'm not going to lose a game immediately. You know what I mean? Like, I fought like 6 Gyarados in the past couple days, and none of them swept me because they could max Airstream plus get a Moxie boost at the same time.
Oh no, Joey, you just don't know how to re-Dynamax to counter him. It's crazy, bro.
Come on. If I had to throw away 3 months to beat a Pokemon, and then still beat the game after, I don't know. I'll give my thoughts on that, but that's all I have to say.
Okay, and I also agree with Joey. I think it feels some people view that as stale because they can't do a random thing.
I feel like I can use more random Pokemon now than I
yeah. I think honestly, dude, that's why I'm so excited for the team building series coming up. I think almost every Pokemon has a role. Like you just have to know how to use it. And I get not everybody's a team builder. I'm very good at team building. So I get
can't wait to use Stone Journey again.
But like on some real shit, like whether it be just a particular strategy type, it doesn't all have to be simple. Teams are. That's why I put out the people thought it was simplistic. If you really thought about it, teams are units. Like you want to just throw on your Dragapult with a such and such and such that you're comfortable with.
I mean, that's why Dragapult and Darmanitan are always next to each other, the team builder, because they're the first two Pokemon people put on.
Right. You want to just mindlessly put some mods together and then throw on a one random thing in the 6th slot and call it a new team. If that's your thing, fine. But then don't complain about losing to the same things because you build the same team every time. So venture out. Put on a Steelix. Put on a Stuart. Try shit. Umbreon, I think, and Vaporeon are super underrated. Milotic, super underrated. I don't see them enough. Use them. Try them. Pex is good. Tried and true. Corviknight, great. Tried and true. Like, I think there are a lot of lower tier mines right now that I'm excited to use soon that are beasts and sets. Espeon did some work in the live I did yesterday.
I think Morpeko a little bit underrated too. Like,
let's try them. Let's try them, bro. Like, why not?
And you know what's crazy? You can actually use them now because Pokemon like Avalugg and Milotic, can both, cover things, right? My Milotic isn't gonna blow. That mon a demon. Yeah. That mon's a damn demon. There's no 14 mons are toxic. That mon is a demon. I used Spadef. I took 30% from Specs, Hydreigon's Dark Pulse.
Right. That's Joey's worst nightmare.
Hey, bro, and I just been building. Like I've been building.
Yeah,
that's how
Joey doesn't build. Like Joey's not.
I don't like.
At least.
Yeah, I love draft league building, but OU build. Especially that's the best way to explain it. OU building, I don't like to do. I don't like to build an OU. I rarely like to build an OU. I like building UU, but I've been building some crazy OU teams too.
Yeah.
Doing and winning games. Stuff works.
Right.
Get a basic understanding what's been going on. But yeah. It's fire.
100% agree. 100% agree. I think, bros, all in all, like, if you're looking for solutions, you'll find them. If you're looking for problems, you'll find them. That's just a life thing. So if you're not focusing on, well, how can I solve this problem? Rather, you're just like, there's a problem. There's a problem. And that's all you do as you play.
Yeah.
No wonder you don't win. The solution, man, and we do this from a place of love. We genuinely want to see, a greater elevation in the player base and skill.
And I'm sure if you watch through our thousands of videos and single us out, you will find moments that contradict what we're saying here. But I mean, that goes about anything.
Yeah. You get mad, you're like, man, fuck this dude. But on the grand scheme of things, and a lot of that is for entertainment. Like, I know y'all like it when I get mad. I
am one of them.
So he literally subscribes to me for those moments. Literally, that people think I joke about it. It's not a joke. But
I told Jim. I PM'd him like clips of him being mad.
Yeah. But it's just find solutions, man. And so that's where we're gonna end this podcast. Find solutions. That's what I don't know what I'm gonna title it, but yeah. Thanks for listening. Next podcast we're gonna be doing more so just discussing each individual Pokemon, what we think it can
Ooh, that's gonna be good.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a blast. Me and Joe are gonna go in on that. But yeah, stay tuned. Subscribe on Anchor. Is that you can subscribe to this, right?
Yeah, you just follow. It's like a follow type of thing, but yeah, it is a subscription. Yeah, you get an email.
Okay, follow on Anchor, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.